That is back. What up, Schmoedown Rockers? Round 2 has begun for the ultimate Schmoedown singles tournament. And the first matches we do get. First one is the one that, you know, we all kind of figured. I mean, it was Meyer, Stacy Howard. Are we really surprised by the way Stacy's performance turned out? Is it unfortunate for Stacy? Yes. I think she wants to try. And it just doesn't come off that way. And it's just... I don't know if she studies enough or if she's able to retain the information as well as someone like Meyer, most of the big players that we've come to know throughout the Schmoedown at this point. But it was kind of clear for most people Meyer was gonna do really damn well, and he did. And then we finally get the follow-up match between. And then, of course, before we get to that, you know, it was a very low score. Things got to a point where the differences between this and the Rachel Cushing round 2 from the tournament 2 years ago. That was a knockout, and Rachel was just on fire, and she just took advantage of what she could. And Brendan just was playing it about as well as he could safely, and he took it in stride, and he took what he could in stride. Luckily, Stacy was able to steal one of the points from his round 2 to be able to at least get her out of knockout range to where she could at least make it into round 3. However, she'd have to get all of her questions right, and to even force Meyer to make it, or else she'd get technical knockout, get TKO'd. And which is unfortunately what happened. She couldn't figure out the Pixar thing, and it seems that's a weakness for everyone but in corruption, involved in the corruption faction, but Chance Ellison. And they're going to have to start lurking all those Pixar movies for sure. And I definitely did enjoy and loved what they did with him. And Brandon's doing really well. The whole Shazam seems to be stacked team, and it's just working out really well. It seems that their teaming up has definitely brought out the best in each other. But I think it's also just more the fact that Brendan Meyer's match, we knew he was good just from off of the match he had against the Paul Oyama, who has just been on a tear since, and ever since his loss to Paul Oyama, he's been on a tear, and I feel like he wants to get to that chance to get to that belt and redeem himself by beating Paul, which would be one hell of a redemption story for the year if he does pull it out, depending on whether or not he beats the person who is of the winner of this next match that I'm talking about, which is Paul Preston versus Ben Bateman. And a lot even behind the scenes, if you aren't part of that, involved with watching stuff for Action Industries or something, or subscribe to the channel, go ahead and do that. You'll get certain things, like if you're not already haven't watched Action Movie Anatomy through Popcorn Talk, which again, if they're watching, if for some reason Ben or Guy are watching this, again, thank you guys, or anyone in Action Army for that matter, thank you. More so them, thank you for the shout out on the Rambo Last Blood talk you did on AMA, and also the Action guys. That's more the pitch, but anyway, it's Ben the Boss Bateman versus the Powder Keg Paul Preston. Now, the Powder Keg himself is that frat boy douchey kind of a thing. I don't mind the protein shakes I do. I do protein shakes myself, so, and, you know, I don't always, but when I do, I do. Or at least I have to get whatever at Walmart. I would like to get something better, but it's kind of expensive to try to get the good local, somewhat good local stuff that comes around the supplement superstores. But anyway, the match itself, Paul is on started getting on a good roll, especially after having dealt with his loss against Lon Harris, and then finally kind of redeeming himself by beating Lon Harris in round 1 of the tournament. But which I kind of was starting to think he had that momentum going. But it all depends on how it could have gone either way with this match. But I think the biggest factor that proves that does happen here. Okay, that helped. But the biggest factor that happens here in this match between Paul and... Also, I kind of do like some of the things that we do get for the cutscenes, especially... Which we'll get to that after we're done talking about the Preston versus Bateman. Which, of course, don't worry, Stacy. By the way, going back to the Stacy, Brendan Meyer and Stacy Howard thing. Don't worry, Stacy. You still technically have teams, but I'm not even sure of that because you're going against some boys and these cannons. Now, even though that was a tough match, and they had a tough going against Looney Bin though. And I do hope Looney Bin surprises us and manages to finally pull a win that they need going up against the Self-Righteous Brothers. But I understand if some people pick Self-Righteous Brothers. And sure, it may hurt my part of the bracket. Whether I'm going to probably choose Looney Bin because Drew was nice and we kind of had a nice little message a little bit. She seemed willing to. She doesn't want managers, but she wasn't entirely against the idea of Dorina. She'd like that idea. I'm guessing she watched Clyde. She knows who I'm talking about. So, but anyways, back to this. I enjoyed the way this match went. Very much. This match was really, really tight match, especially for the fact that both of them, I believe, wound up getting perfect round 1s in their matches. And in round 2 was where the things differed, but it was even so much with the wheel rounds because they both managed to get category. He managed to get spinner's choice and chose directors. Paul Preston did. And they even got the bonus questions, by the way. And then Bateman, I guess because he was the favorite more so, he let Preston go first, and he got his spinner's choice and got to choose directors. Not that Ben didn't find a way to steal. At least on one of them. At least for a good 2-point steal, which kind of did hurt him a little bit, but eventually... And then there was a moment where I think he was trying to go for a 1 point and didn't get it, I think. Unless I'm confusing that with the Lishan and Miller match again, for some reason. And speaking of Preston, hopefully you've been part of joining Karen's army. His wife's... who's apparently, unfortunately, going through something with pancreatic cancer. Sorry, the lighting. Anyways, the whole thing with pancreatic cancer, and then... Damn, my beard. Don't worry, it's going to get shaved later tomorrow. But anyway... Look good going somewhere. That's why I'm doing this and another video later. Anyway, apparently him and Smets are pretty good buddies. Outside of this, and I think that's might be part of the reason why I think Smets might have despite the one incident with collision. Though I still have the Smasher shirt. I'm thinking of getting a Dungeon shirt to make up for all that. I am starting to ponder on doing a movie guys group or something, but I don't know how that's gonna go over. Anyway, but yeah, at this point, and then of course it gets to the third round. Before we even get to that, Ben's last question involving the Seven Samurai and the release date of that film, which apparently he got it right. It was, a lot of people have said it was actually 1956, but there's so many different sources to go off of. And in terms of the movie release dates, which was being got, and he was for sure, hell, he had to go multiple choice on a couple of them. And he used a lot of repeats already prior to. And that one, and he even wound up having to use this release for his 2-pointer once Paul Preston got through his 2 and 3-pointer to force him to get the 2, and he had to make sure so he could get the 2, so he could say it right. And of course, he's dealing with his back pain because he's going to wind up going into back surgery. So I don't know even whether or not he wins or not. It's going to suck because if he does win against Brendan Meyer, it's going to suck for the finals because he can't go on a plane apparently, from what I've heard from last night's Accent Industry stream, which kind of sucks, but but anyway, and then of course there was a challenge issued that they went in. The way they handled it wound up actually working out in Ben's favor by dealing with the challenge. Apparently he did get it wrong, but technically Paul Preston did, because most people would say it's actually 56, and they should have just fixed it to where, but it wasn't what was the challenge that was thrown. What was thrown was the fact of just the question itself was just kind of botched in and of itself, because there wasn't really an accurate release date for this thing in terms of its release date in the States. Or at least not properly, even though most people say in sources are 1956, and that wasn't even Preston's answer though. But I could understand Preston still feeling like he kind of got screwed from the whole situation, especially since they gave him a completely different thing. What they should have done was done it and then had him just go through multiple choice, and he would have just got one question. And it would have definitely changed up the dynamic of the way the round 3 would have went for sure. Because at the time when he supposedly got it right, he was kind of in the lead. And then that changed because the way that it was more the question itself, and because of it, he had to get a different question, and in turn, he wanted to go in multiple choice regardless, just to play it safe, I guess, because of especially after what had happened with the last question, and of course got it right. At least getting him at least 1 point, at least within 2 or so, or at least within, or he actually did get it right, and wound up 2 points ahead, making it 18 to 15, I think, which either way would have, I guess, he would have needed to get at the very least both of them. Maybe, 14 or something, maybe. But yeah, see, it would have been 16 to 15, and then it wound up being like 14 to 18. And I guess either way, he would have needed to have at least his 2 as 3 to get up TKO range, which he did. And once again, it kind of turned out to be a unfortunate similar fate. And it sucks more so because of what early happened and what both of them are dealing with personally for them to even be in that match. And who knows, maybe if the back issue is going to start to play an even bigger part going into the finals, if he winds up actually beating Brendan, or if maybe he didn't beat Brendan. And it wouldn't have mattered whether or not he had to go on that plane, because that would have meant he would have been in the finals, and he'd have had to gone to Florida, had to have gone there to do it, or they would have had to reschedule the finals thing and just show a taping of it. I don't know what they would have done, but for the live event in that regard. But anyways, but it sucks what happens. But but I don't think he realizes I'm hoping he still realizes that the movie guys, they're in the tournament for teams. So he still has that going, and I'm trying to remember who they're facing off against. But it's definitely a tough team for sure on their end. I guess maybe it's Scream Queens. I'm not too sure. No, that's actually them in Time Machine. And a lot of people have Time Machine, though Haley could surprise us all in teams for sure on that one. Oh boy. But other than that, and then other than that, we have our cutscenes. The ones for the Meyer versus Howard one, mostly, we actually get 2 scenes. One with my boy Kaiser, kind of attempting to cozy up with Emma. Looking fine as usual. That's just me. But anyways, yeah, and him trying to do what he did to them, and then they're just not panning out. It's like he's like, yeah, you tried to do this in R&B, and even he didn't go for your belt shit, and called him. And it kind of bums me out that, you know, he tried to do the same thing, but this time he kind of rubbed it in his face, and then decided to go from calling him Lou to calling him Ralph. It's like, Jesus. It's like, I wish you would have stuck with calling him Lou, just so I could extend my hashtag Schmoedown St. Louis to hashtag bringing Lou in the Lou. I don't know how Kaiser feels about that. I mean, it's not a bad idea necessarily. When it just makes it now irrelevant, it kind of makes me sad. Because I wanted it, like, you know. I mean, come on. Bring Lou in the Lou. It's not catchy or what? Ralph and Lou. It doesn't make sense. That much sense. Come on. I could just say Kaiser to Lou, but, you know. Anyways, and it's just kind of a rehashing of a previous one they did for a few weeks back, earlier in the year, which was fine. But, you know, just their smack talk back and forth. Though I think Kaiser has more likely a chance. But we'll see how the team's division goes for the family. Even though, yeah, the round ones could be more than likely. But after what I saw from the throwdown against Late to the Party, if at least Dewberry and Makuga has his magic going on too, it's like he doesn't. Makuga's got his magic going. Whoo! They could pull They could pull the Late to the Party critically acclaimed upset against the family and bust a lot of brackets, especially for Action Army. But that's just my inner Wildberry scene, hoping to make up for what happened last year versus Evil Geniuses, especially given that Evil Geniuses didn't even go all the way after that, and it was just freaking Harris brothers. And I felt like the teams that they thought didn't get fair desserts or whatever. Ugh. Oh well. But anyways, overall, I enjoy. I mean, and then of course we have a couple other things that are going on in terms of the and then of course we finally get something addressed between him and Bateman, and it turns out he's officially not part of the Horsemen. He's done, and it turns out he was just kind of playing us the whole time with that, and he just winds up calling Ben a joke and all this stuff, and behind us just trying to be the new, just basically he's officially, as JTH puts it, Ben Fakeman at this point. or as now everyone is embracing in Action Army Hot Man. Whatever. But which sucks now, but plus I feel like they did it for two reasons. Some people are hinting, he's trying to get an IG. I'm like, that's less likely, and it's more likely like they're trying to come up with an excuse to have someone to root for and against in the match between Chandu and Hannah, since we kind of like them both anyway, as who should be face and who should be heel going into that match. For the right to face Schmetz. Though speaking of that, apparently we're dealing with a very weird confrontation between Mara Knopic and M5. And Mara just kind of being, I don't know, I guess she's tweener? I mean, that's the best way to put it. She's not exactly heel, necessarily. I'd say tweener, because hell, even Dan's kind of gone tweener, especially after their dynamic, which is hysterical. But also kind of legitimate, especially if you've seen Christian Harloff's one-on-one with Mara back when she had the title. She kind of says that they had pulled a prank on some of their friends, the two of them, and she kind of had. So we're seeing some of that in her personality apparently in this. So she's kind of finally going along with the ride. She's finally, cleared her head. She's not as sick as she was during the time frame she was blowing up like she had been, and I think that started to eventually get to her when she came to the spectacular match, but not to the point of her performance. So no. She did well in that, and they both, I think, wound up going to sudden death. They're both. We don't know if she's still top notch. She's trying to pull off her rematch clause thing she had, but and it seems like because she's for teams in that. Hell, if something goes wrong with Founding Fathers, I could see the possibility that, Roka winds up deciding to retire and just become manager, and then Dan deciding for some reason to get to partner with either Riley, go back to Riley, depending on what goes on with who's the boss or whatnot. But anyways, also there's another, I forgot there was another one. I think that was already the other one. But anyways, yeah, I got through all the cutscenes. But anyways, now it's Mike Kalinowski versus... and then now we have Bibbs versus Irwin, and then Kalinowski versus Roka, which is this week, and I'm going to be watching that after I'm done doing this. And so what did you guys think of the matches? Leave a comment below, let me know. As always, be sure to like my Facebook. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like that video, hit that like button with thrust if you must, and link in the description below on my Facebook. Like and follow me there. And as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. If you smell what the movie trivia Schmoedown and Schmoedown rocks is cooking.